Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. We do have a little bit of a program we wanted to share with you this afternoon. My name's Tim Seidel. I'm a 1989 graduate of Eastern and Vice President of University Advancement. Before we get too quickly started here, we have a number of our foundation trustees and members of the board of directors here. I'd wondered if I could ask each of them to stand up just real briefly so people kind of know who you are and we could introduce you and welcome you. Thank you very much. I'd also like to make sure to recognize our very friendly advancement staff who helps make all of these things happen. Development Director Rick Paradis over here, and Mr. Tyler Dubsky. Tyler, could you stand up real brief? And Miss Jessie Bowman is over here on my left, or my left, you're right. And Linda Kaiser in the back. So thank you very much all for helping make this happen. One of the other folks who helps makes a lot of things happen at Eastern and has been very busy doing so for the last several months since he joined us this last summer is Interim President Jay Kenton, who started his career in higher education at Eastern and is returning to Eastern to help us out during this interim period. And I'd like to introduce Jay to say a few words.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you everyone for coming today and for your support. And thank you, students, for what you do every day. You make our life special here at Eastern. So I have a lengthy, 45-minute speech that I'm going to distill down to 4 or 5 minutes. First of all, I got in this business to make a difference. I got in this business to leave a legacy. And the thing that impresses me most about education is it gives people an opportunity to break the mold that society casts for them. My father was a high school dropout. He was the oldest son in his family. His father left his family and my grandmother and her 3 children without a means of support, and my father had to go to work to support his family. And if I had stayed in my hometown, my father was a lineman for the power company, by the way. That's what he did for a living. And he worked hard for 37 years doing that. And if I'd stayed in my hometown, I probably would have done the same thing. I probably would have been a blue-collar worker. But instead, I moved away, and I saw the value of education. I had some lucky breaks. I was working at a lumber mill for Iva Avery, a very lovely lady in Philomath, Oregon. And I was running the log deck, and one day she came to me in the lunchroom and said, "Jay, I was looking at your application. I see you have a couple years of college, and I want you to finish." And I said, "I'd love to do that, but I don't know that I can afford to." And she said, "No, you can afford it. I'll make sure that happens." And so she told me, "I want you to work as much as you can, but I'm going to give you a full-time paycheck. And I want you to get your college degree." So she opened that door for me, and I think it's really important that we open that door for others. It can make a profound difference in your life. In addition, so I went on, I got my bachelor's degree, I went to work. I was very fortunate to start here at Eastern Oregon. In 1983, I was hired by Jim Lundy and Dave Gilbert. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I was a lost soul in some sense. And but when I got here, I was like, wow, this is kind of neat. I was working with students every day. And every day I had challenges. You know, students would come to me with the darndest problems, financial and otherwise. And I remember walking down the hall to Jim Lundy's office. I'm like, Jim, I got this situation. I just don't know what to do. And he looked at me and he said, Jay, if you err in the favor of a student, you will never make a mistake. That was 1983, and I was an accountant for Eastern Oregon University. I went on to become the vice chancellor for the system of higher education. I helped build the streetcar system in Portland. I helped bring light rail to downtown Portland. I was involved in the tram project, and just recently the opening of the $300 million collaborative life science project in Portland. Governor Kitzhaber called me before he decided to run his third time because Dave Fromeyer, a good friend of mine, recommended he talk to me. So all these doors opened for me because of my education. And, you know, I hope those same doors will open for this next generation of students we have today. I also want to tell you a couple of stories about students I've had the benefit of working with. My first PhD advisee was a Bosnian woman who literally, during the civil war in Yugoslavia, one day was at home and that day the door was kicked in, soldiers moved into her house and sent her family, her sister, her parents on the streets. She came to the United States on a refugee visa. She's a very talented individual, and I was happy when I was able to hood her at her PhD ceremony when she succeeded. He also had the opportunity during Katrina I was teaching at Portland State University, and we had a number of people displaced by the flood and the hurricane that came from Tulane University and University of New Orleans to Portland. I had the opportunity to work for them. And finally, I had the opportunity to teach in Russia, where we had 7 satellite campuses at Portland State, and to work with numerous Russians, helping them attain a master's in business administration from Portland State. So, you know, it's all about legacies in my book. It's all about people in my book. We were all put on this world for a purpose, and we need to leave a legacy. And you're doing that. The donors in this room are doing that through these students you're funding it. You're doing it through your interactions on a daily basis, and for that, we thank you very much. So that's my 45 minutes. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, students, for being here and giving us a reason for being. Thank you, donors, for your support. It is very, very much appreciated.
Thanks, Jay. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Bob Moody, who started out with the foundation a number of years ago, has served as its president, and is a reason many people were able to achieve their education here at Eastern. Bob?
I'll try not to bore you, but I was asked how we arrived at funding a scholarship. I was getting ready. I told the people in Bend that I was going to retire at the end of the year. I give them 9 months to find another thing, and we started thinking, what do we want to do when I retire to put some money into the community? So I sat down with Peggy Anderson. I'm sure you old-timers know Peggy. And said, you know, we're thinking about starting a scholarship for single parents. He said, well, I think that would be great, but make sure you do it for men too. And we hadn't talked about it. We were thinking, no, make it for women. Well, to make a long story short, I retired. We had a dinner with about 200 people there from all over the place. And I better back up. The Moccasin Telegraph and the company got to me and said, boy, they are going to give you one heck of a tour around the world when you retire. And we decided, So I called the company president a couple days later and said, I want to run something by you. We want to start this scholarship for single parents. And I understand you're going to give us a trip. Well, yeah. Would you consider putting the money for the trip into the scholarship? So they did. And that evening at the dinner, when everybody had to pay for the dinner, then they added whatever the dinner cost plus and put another, I don't know, $10,000, $15,000 into it. But that's kind of how we arrived at the scholarship, and it's very interesting to get the letters every year from, we have not met too many of them, but that's understandable, where they're single and parents and whatnot. And we've had one man that lost his wife, had 4 kids, needed 2 terms to finish. And so Peggy's advice was well taken. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And we do have a trust, and when my demise arrives, there'll be some more money going into the scholarship. So I've enjoyed my term at Eastern and met a lot of good people, and still a lot of good people around. So thank you.
For those of you that don't know Bob, he was editor and publisher of the LeGrand Observer here for a number of years, and he was actually one of my first bosses when I was a newspaper boy, delivery boy for the Observer here for many years too. So we go way back. So. Next up, we'd like to introduce some of our student recipients, give you an idea of who receives scholarships, where they're from, what they're doing, what their aspirations are. And these are usually some really great stories because it illustrates why folks like Bob and Bev provide scholarships and who it's going to and what these folks are going to be able to do with their education. First up, I'd like to introduce Miranda Manley. So Miranda can come on up. Oh, there you are. She's a sophomore majoring in education and recipient of the Sapphire Scholarship.
Hello, I am Miranda Manley, like he said. I am a sophomore. I grew up in a very chaotic home, and I always dreamed about the day that I could make my escape and start my path to a better life by going to school. So I worked as hard as I could in high school. I took all the AP classes that I could so that I could start with as many credits as possible because I knew I'd be paying my own way. My family was extremely poor, and I wanted to start with as big of a jump into school as I could. Unfortunately, near the end of my senior year, things got really bad. And instead of leaving for my dream school, I had to call admissions and tell them that I wouldn't be attending. And I got a full-time job and took care of my brothers until my mom could get her life together and take over like she needed to. By that point, I was in my mid-20s, and I had started working at a nonprofit where it was supposed to be a temporary job as a secretary, and I had worked my way up to being the volunteer coordinator. And I worked with abused and neglected children, and I loved working with them and helping them overcome a past that they couldn't control, and it helped me make peace with my own past. I still wanted to go back to school, but I had a job and bills, and it was easier to just keep putting it off. But in 2011, I fell in love with a man from this tiny little town in Eastern Oregon that I had never heard of. And he was working at a corporate job that he hated. And I encouraged him to follow his dream, which was to move back to LeGrand and work with his dad at this tiny little logging company that his dad had started in the 70s. So we moved back here, and once we got settled, he encouraged me to follow my dream and to go back to school. By this point, we had a newborn, and it just seemed so overwhelming. And I don't know if you know this, but loggers don't make a lot of money. And so the thought of taking on massive student loan debt with our new family was really overwhelming. Finally, he convinced me to come up and just talk to financial aid. And when I did, I learned about the scholarship benefits. So I applied, and because of generous donors like you, I have been able to attend full-time and fulfill a dream that has been 15 years in the making. I am proud to say that I have gotten a 4.0 every term that I have been here since I started. And when it starts to get too overwhelming and I don't want to do my homework, I just want to take a nap with my daughter or run around with my toddler, I just remember all the people who are paying for me to be here, and I buckle down and I keep going. My dream is to get my master's in special education and work with kids and help them have all the start they can have to have the best life they can. And that seems like it's now within my grasp. Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. That's a pretty good example of what scholarships can do and what this little college out here in Eastern Oregon can do to change lives. Next, I'd like to introduce I want to introduce Crystal Mitchell, a junior from Pendleton, who is here with us today. She is she's a junior studying biochemistry and looking at pursuing a pharmacy degree. And she is the recipient of the Dobbins and Dobbins Scholarship.
Hello everyone. Like you said, my name is Crystal Mitchell and I am 19 years old and I'm just from over the hill in Pendleton. And this is my second year here at Eastern and I absolutely love it. I'm currently majoring in biochemistry while also taking the prerequisites I need to pursue a degree in pharmacy following my time here at Eastern. When I came to my college tour of Eastern, this was the only campus I toured and I immediately fell in love with it. Everyone was so friendly and just willing to answer questions, whatever questions I had, and sat in on classes, and the one-on-one attention that I noticed that professors gave to students was just phenomenal. I think my biggest class that I have taken so far here at Eastern has had maybe 80 people in it, and that's considered a small class at many other universities in the state. And I'm the kind of person, when it comes to math, I need a little more help. Still wondering when I'm going to use inverse functions in real life, but you know. Another thing I really liked was that I could make it from one side of the campus to the other in under 5 minutes. So I didn't have to spend 15 minutes between classes running to a different building, trying to find a different parking spot, anything like that. My mother always wants what's best for me, like most moms do, and has always been an avid supporter of my dreams. But as a single parent and owning her own small business, it wasn't financially possible for her to support me in my pursuit of a college education. So thanks to the EOU Foundation, I have been able to attend college. So far, I have not paid a single dollar for college thanks to the numerous scholarships that I've been fortunate enough to receive and through Pell Grants and everything like that. My senior year, I considered filling out scholarship applications to be my full-time job, and like many students can sympathize. This year was my second year in a row receiving financial assistance from the EOU Foundation, and I am forever grateful for that. Upon graduating from Eastern in hopefully a year or two, I plan to attend Oregon State University to pursue my degree in pharmacy to hopefully work at a small rural pharmacy in a town like LeGrand or Pendleton that's similar to my hometown. I know I speak for all the recipients of scholarships from the Foundation when saying how grateful we are that you are helping us pursue our dreams. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Crystal. I think that pursuing a program in pharmacology and being a pharmacist in small rural communities is in high demand. I know some pharmacists that would love to have you come visit them in places like Burns and John Day. I'd like to also now introduce Sean Brooks, a senior from the Tri-Cities. Sean is the recipient of the Sapphire and Jeannie White Memorial Scholarship. Sean? Yeah, that's me. There you are. I was looking. Cannot see everybody in the crowd. Come on up, sir.
Kind of wishing I made a speech now, so I'm just doing this off the top of my head. They said come from the heart, so I'm Sean Brooks. I'm from Tri-Cities, like he said. I came from a single-parent household as well, you know, and the whole goal of my life was basketball when I was growing up. Like, that's my escape, was basketball. High school, I didn't really take advantage of the free education like I wish I would have. But then I was able to go on to community college in Spokane, and then that's when I quickly learned that basketball wasn't life. Here's when grades in school kind of like held me down. I wasn't doing my job, so then I had to stop going to school for a little bit because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And then I ended up going to Montana to play a little more basketball. They took me out there for free. I was like, hey, I'll go out and play some basketball. then I realized basketball still wasn't getting me anywhere. I was just playing the game, but I wasn't going anywhere in my future, in my life. And then I had to sit out 3 years, and then I was working, making minimum wage, and then I realized that this isn't the life that I wanted for me or my future family. And then I called down here to Eastern Oregon, got a hold of Heather Stanhope, and she made the dream alive. She put together my 2-year plan because I already had some credits, put it together and made the dream visible. I came down here just with failure on my mind because it happened more than once. And Kylie, I was like a scared dog with his tail under his legs, showed up like in the middle of the week. And Kylie, I was in the EOU office. Actually, I asked her what my schedule was, and she actually helped me out, showed me. And she wasn't even my advisor. She just brought me in, first person I seen, let me know what I was supposed to do, how to get there. And then I found out that she was here for scholarships, and she told me to meet her later. Ended up doing it. It was probably one of the best decisions of my life because now, this year, I've had it where I didn't have to pay a single dollar to come to school, just the extracurricular stuff. So the donors, I want to thank you very much for making this possible because you guys do make dreams come true. Like I thought I was going down the drain every day working, just thinking I shouldn't be here. I could be doing something better. So it's for you guys. I want to say thank you. Like I'll forever be grateful for making my dream come true of being a teacher in the future. Growing up, I didn't have a male around, so I want to be a male role model for students that don't get to see a male every day, and for all my students. So I want to thank all the donors, all the faculty members, everyone that's here, because you guys made my dream come true, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you.
Thanks, Sean. I think if you take that attitude into the classroom, you'll be very successful. I'd like to introduce Tricia Tucker. Tricia's from Enterprise and is currently working on her master's in elementary education. And she is the recipient of the Irma Klinghammer Scholarship. Come on up.
Plato said the direction in which education starts a man will determine his future in life. Good afternoon, my name is Tricia Tucker. I am currently a graduate student here at Eastern Oregon University where I am pursuing my master's degree and teaching certificate in K through 6 elementary ed. I was born and raised in Enterprise, Oregon. I lived on 10 acres with my parents, my brother and sister, and all of my spare time was spent either riding horses, hunting, fishing, basically just exploring. To LeGrand in 2006 after graduating from Enterprise High School as valedictorian. I spent 4 years here in my undergraduate, received my bachelor's of music degree. I had the wonderful opportunity of studying under Dr. Wartelman. I sang in the chamber choir all 4 years, traveled to China with the choir, which was a wonderful experience. Words cannot describe how awesome it truly was. I graduated summa cum laude. I decided, upon graduating, I had applied to go into the MAT program for music ed, had been accepted, and life happened, and I decided I needed to take a step back and rethink, and I chose to take a few years off and work to make sure that I could set myself up financially to pursue my graduate degree. I became employed at Community Bank, where I quickly moved up into a supervisor position. I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, it still just wasn't what I was meant to do. I met my husband in 2012, and he had a 4-year-old little girl at that point in time. And as I got to know him and Gracie, I realized that I really needed to be with children. I am extremely passionate about children and in their education, and watching her starting to learn how to add 2 + 2 and how to read a simple sentence, it was absolutely magical. And so truly my stepdaughter was my inspiration to come back to Eastern to finish up my education. The MAT program here has been extremely intense. It is an accelerated program. I don't think I have had this much homework in my life. However, it has been very rewarding. I had spent my first placement in second grade at Central Elementary. And my second placement I just started last week out in Elgin in third grade. I believe that I am meant to be in a smaller school. I miss my small community. LeGrand's just a tad too big. And I'm really enjoying Elgin. Not that I didn't love my LeGrand experience, but I am truly a country girl. I need to get back out in the hills with my cows and my horses. When I made the decision to come back to school, I was terrified. I had this great job, I had a great salary, I was paying my bills, I was freshly married, had a husband, a stepdaughter that I felt like I needed to start providing for. So financially, it was very scary to think about dropping that and accruing more student loans. My husband actually said he was taking me to lunch one day, and instead he brought me up to the college and sat me down in the financial aid office and said, figure it out. So we went from there. I went back to school, here I am. However, without help from donors like you, it truly wouldn't be possible. We have single parents, we have students from all walks of life that really appreciate the help and the support that you provide us, because without it, we wouldn't be here. I just wanted to say thank you for helping all of us achieve our dreams. Because of your support, I know that I will be able to eventually give back to my community. I am very blessed that I'm going into education where I can help to build our future through our children. And I would just like to close by saying that education is truly a gift that nobody can ever take from us. Thank you.
I love it when somebody says that LeGrand is too big. That is great. That is great. Up next, we have Jess Roberts. Jess is from LeGrand and will be graduating with a Master's of Arts in Teaching as well, and he's a recipient of the Irma Klinghammer and Hug Buglione Scholarship. Jess.
So as you can tell, I'm a little older than the average student here. I'm 49, which does make me older. I'm married and I have two grown daughters, Jessica and Jordan. And while I'm a bit older than students and presenters here today, I truly do associate with my fellow students. We're fellow students. I'm proud to say I grew up here in LeGrand and have always thought of it as my home. Last spring I graduated from Eastern Oregon University with degrees in mathematics, so we can talk about inverse functions for a few minutes if you want. But more importantly, I was proud to graduate with my wife of nearly 27 years, Sherilyn, last year's presidential scholar. So you see, I have a very deep roots to both LeGrand and to EOU. I am currently working towards my Master's in Arts and Teaching, and I'm student teaching at LeGrand High School in math, my high school, the high school I went to. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and it's been a lifelong dream of mine to complete what I started many years ago. And while my journey has been an interesting one, certainly longer than some, it's one that it likely would have gone unfulfilled if it weren't for the generosity of many of you in this room. A few years ago, every person in my immediate family was in college. And while I might have planned to send 2 people through college, I certainly didn't plan on sending 4 people through college. However, I'm proud to note that 3 of us have obtained our bachelor's degree, 1 of us a master's. I'll get a master's in June, and then a couple of doctorates yet to come for my daughters. And I believe in education, much like our other teachers here today. I remember telling my daughters that their job as they grew up was going to school, something that I've had to remind myself of a few times lately. But it was true then, and it's true now. Education is a job. And I've been a fortunate recipient of several scholarships over the year, 2 this year, and at least 1 foundation scholarship for the 5 years that I've come to Eastern. And I'm very appreciative of those because they've really helped my family, and I blame each and every one of you for that. It is through your help and support that we students do accomplish the dreams that we collectively share. We all have similar dreams. As you can imagine, I've pondered the financial sensibility of using my math degree to become a teacher, when I know there's a lot of really high-paying jobs with a math degree. and then I could just ease right into retirement without worrying about money. But I want to teach, and my ability to teach is directly connected to the reality that I was able to accomplish my goals at EOU without borrowing a tremendous amount of money, and for this I blame you as well. So I'm a proud EOU student, and I will one day soon be a proud graduate for the second time at EOU. Again, I blame you. I assure you that I'll pay these gifts forward and help other students just like me. As a matter of fact, my wife, as the presidential scholar, won some money last year as that. It's a nice stipend, and we turned that back into a foundation scholarship through this foundation. Likely a math scholarship down the road. So again, it's quite likely just the beginning today, even though I'm ending my college career. And again, it's because of you that these dreams come true. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. I've known Jess for a little while, and I think he'll be a very cool math teacher. All the kids will want to go to your class. Last but not least, we have Michelle Stoller. Michelle is a junior from the Quest program at the EOU Mount Hood campus. I'd like to provide a very special thank you to her and her husband and 2 children for traveling all the way from Camas, Washington, to be with us today. She's a recipient of the Charles and Rhoda Chalet Scholarship that we just established last year and the Irma Klinghammer Scholarship. Come on up.
Well, I feel very excited for the future of education with some of the speakers that we've had tonight. There's some great future teachers in this room, and that's really, really exciting. I also am in the education program, as he was saying, and for as long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a teacher. I remember when my brother and sister were kids, making them play school for hours and hours, much to their dismay. As I got older, it became apparent very quickly that going to college was not going to be easy or maybe even possible. My family did not have a lot of money. I'd never seen a college campus. None of my family members had attended university. It seemed like my parents were like, you need to go to college, you need to go to college, but they might as well have been saying, you need to go to Mars. I had no reference point or concept of what that looked like, what it felt like. I didn't know. After high school, I did attend our local community college, where I promptly met my husband, and we started our family very quickly after that. Over the next decade, we made many sacrifices and stuck to a really tight budget so I could stay home with our 2 kids, because I felt like that was important to do. With neither of us having a college degree, a tight budget seemed like our permanent state for the rest of our existence. 3 years ago, though, my husband said, Michelle, this is what you want to do, and we will do whatever we need to do to make that happen. With $150 Little League fees and French horns to rent and other things, it still didn't really seem possible, but I attained my AA degree through Clark College last June with honors, and I thought that might be, it. We had managed to avoid student loans, but it looked like going to university was going to require loans that were just out of our reach. Then I attended a college fair, and I learned about Eastern's program at Mount Hood. I was impressed with the program, mostly because of the amount of classroom experience I get during my time there. I've already spent almost 150 hours in the classroom, and this is only my 2nd quarter, so that's so valuable to me. And the very classrooms that I get to spend time in is just amazing. I applied for admission and also for the foundation scholarships. My husband and I sat down one afternoon and we tried to work out a plan that would allow me to go, but it just didn't seem possible. And I was beginning to think that an AA was as far as I was going to get. I'm sorry. And then one day I received a letter from EOU. I thought it was my acceptance letter, which I'd been waiting for with bated breath, and I happened to be meeting my husband for lunch that day, so I took the letter with me unopened so we could open it together. When we opened it, I saw that it was not my acceptance letter, but it was a letter saying that I had received one of the foundation scholarships. We were very stunned, and my husband cried in the restaurant. He said that he had been racking his brain and thinking of taking a second job so that I could continue my education. That day, such a huge load was lifted from our shoulders, and anything seemed possible. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to attend EOU, and I'm very thankful for the foundation, not only for myself, but on behalf of all the students here, because we'll go out and we'll impact our communities, and we will donate to the foundation when we're able to. My first quarter at EOU, this last fall, I earned a 3.9 GPA. My goal is to continue to work as hard as I can, not only to become an effective and prepared teacher, but also so I can live up to the honor and responsibility of receiving these scholarship monies. My family is here with me this weekend, and tonight we are attending a basketball game. For all four of us, this is the first time on a university campus. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And that is why we do what we do at the foundation. Wow. Thank you, all of you, for speaking from the heart. Whether it was unscripted or scripted, it makes a difference for all of us. We have one more little thing to do. All of our students in the room were entered into a raffle, and this is one of my favorite parts because we get to give away some fun stuff. And we'll win, and we're going to do some drawings here. And we've got 3 prizes to give away. The gift cards for some food down at Golden Crown, or GC Fusion, it is now known, at Domino's Pizza, and a popcorn wagon. So, I think I have them. Do I have names? Jesse, do I have names and things? Okay. Oh, in here? You want to, here, why don't you grab a name. Last year we gave out a panini press, and it was very popular. Why don't we do the Golden Crown? Jordan Roberts? There she is. We know college students like food. That's a very popular item amongst college students. Next up, let's do the Domino's. Peter. Did he have to leave? Oh, no. Should we go ahead and give it to him, or want to do another? What? He had to go to. Oh, yeah. Well, we don't want to penalize him for that. Give him to. We'll give it to Coach. We'll make sure he gets it. Those runners, you know, they burn up a lot of calories. That pizza's good for them. Very important. And the popcorn wagon. Amanda Walker. There she is. Awesome. And she said her kids will love it. See? A prize goes a long, long ways. You're all welcome to take home a Tea and Trumpets gift bag on your tables. Please help yourselves to those. And if you're joining us for the men's and women's basketball games, please make sure you have your tickets, and we'll see you in Quinn. If you need anything, Linda, back by the entrance, has tickets. And we hope these simple offerings will remind you of our gratitude for your contributions and provide you with a way to remember the impact you've had on the lives of our students. So Thank you very much for joining us today, and have a great evening.